So-called military catches Travis, Maddie, and Alicia. They get them into a camp and separate Travis from Maddie and Alicia. They bring Travis to an underground killing facility where some soldiers are killing people in the name of their experiments. They put Travis along with other people in a room where he finds Nick sitting in front of him along with Lucy. He gets up and sits with him. He tells him that his mother and sister are here as well. Nick asks, "Did they come finding him?" And Travis replies with a "yeah." They take two people from the room. There's sounds of gunfires. They take them as well. There's a soldier with them. He says that if Travis can get him out of this room, he can get all of them out of here using construction tunnels. Travis tries to distract them. He tells them that I'm a Maori and Maori don't turn. He says that he want to die first. So they spare Nick and take him first. As they try to tie him, he pushes one of them to undead and it bites him, while the other falls unconscious by them. They get out of there out in the open. Nick, Lucy, and Soldier leave, while Travis makes himself bait to stop them from chasing them. Lucy and Nick can leave, but the soldier is not that lucky and is shot at the exact time standing over the tunnel opening. They close the opening. Lucy and Nick reach the tunnel end and find out that there's no road but herds of undeads filled in the whole space. They get back and run while undeads start entering the tunnels. Here Troy orders his men to put Travis in a dig with undeads. They make him fight for his life against a dig filled with undeads. Troy gets back into the room where Alicia and Maddie were kept. Hiding Maddie behind the door attacks him, and in a do-or-die situation, she inserts a fork in his right eye. She takes him as a hostage. For his life, he leads her and tells her where Travis is. Jack is the brother of Troy. He gets here and assures her that this is only Troy's mischiefs and others are not like him. She trusts him. Here Alicia sees Lucy and Nick in the tunnel, but at the exact time she's caught by them. Jack, along with Maddie, Troy, and their men, gets to the dig where Travis has killed dozens of undeads. Their men bring Nick and Alicia. They all reunite here. Jack tells that they're building a nation and community, and they want them to become a part of it. So they pack. And as they get to vehicles, undeads from tunnels have already crowded rooms and attack. Jack starts the helicopter and takes Travis, Alicia, and a few others. They wait for Maddie and Nick as they're heavily surrounded by undeads. So here Troy gets with his truck and invites Maddie and Nick to get in. In spite of having zero trust, but with no option but to survive, they get into the truck with him. Both helicopter and truck leave. All of the vehicles set out on their destination, as well as the helicopter. Jack, his nephew Charlene, Travis, and Alicia are going in the helicopter. It's night now, and it's dark. Suddenly, from nowhere, the helicopter starts getting gunfires from the ground. It hits the helicopter's windows, and one of the bullets passes through the window all the way through Travis's neck. He's in shock and bleeding from the neck. Others ask him to sit tight. He opens the door and slides to the edge. Alicia stops him, gets to him, and sees his wound, depicting that he's not gonna survive. She lets him go. He falls from the helicopter all the way down. Jack tells her that he's gone, gets to her, and makes her sit tight with a belt on. They crash land the helicopter. Jack and Alicia stay with Lucy, while Charlene takes the first task of keeping an eye from a little afar. He gives her a gun and asks her to whistle if there's danger or undeads. He and Alicia put on fire. While they're chatting, they hear the sound of a natural whistle. Jack puts out the fire, gives Alicia a gun, and tells her that if he doesn't get back, keep going with Lucy along trails, and you'll reach the ranch till afternoon and leaves. He gets there. His feet slip, and he falls exactly near undeads. They are eating Charlene. They attack her. Alicia gets there in time and saves him. They see that Charlene is gone. He asks Alicia to go back and takes her gun. While she's returning, she hears the sound of gunfire, which means that he has done what he is supposed to. Alicia tells Jack that Lucy is still unconscious, so he says he'll carry her. Alicia says they both will carry her. The watchman of the ranch sees them coming. They open the door and get them in. Medics get there to check Lucy. They say that Lucy doesn't seem to be fine. Troy gets in the way and says that it's against the ranch's policy to get her in if she turns. He pulls out a gun for her. Nick asks him to let him do it. He agrees and hands over the gun. Nick points it at Troy instead and asks them to take her in and treat her. Otto assures Nick to give him the gun, and they'll tie her and treat her. He puts down the gun and gives it to him. Maddie asks Alicia to go with them while she gets to the shadow of a tree and cries. Otto gets to her and says, "I'm sorry for Travis," and further says that some people try to go very far after Maddie completes his sentence, "That's suicide," and asks him what he's here for. He tells her that a Beretta pistol is missing from the fuel tank of a truck, and if she has taken it, she has to sign over it. After a while of assurance, she signs. Alicia gets to Nick to check on Lucy. They both and Maddie get to their room. Maddie says that, "Nick, you asked me before, and my answer is that, yes, we'll stay here. Now this is our home, even if we'll have to fight for it." She turns to Alicia and asks her to tell her the complete detail of what happened with Travis. There at the hotel, more people have gathered at the gate. They pull Elena from her hair and ask others to get them in. One of them, a woman pregnant. Victor says that he's a doctor and will treat them. They let her go, and they open doors and get them in. Firstly, he treats a boy, then he's asked to do the delivery of that pregnant woman. At first he denies, and her husband gets fired if he's even a real doctor, so asks all of them to get out. He delivers her baby. Elena gets to him and tells him that the mother will keep her child's name on his name since it's a tradition here. She asks Victor to leave since he lied about being a doctor, and now all of them are involved in it. He asks for a car but denies. Hector gets to him, and on the force of a gun, he asks him to treat a woman. When he gets inside, there's wedding stuff, and it's Aline. Victor says that he can treat her since he has gained experience after many treatments. She thanks him that he freed her little girl Jessica. After that, she jumps from the balcony. Victor gets to the parking lot and gets to his hidden car to get out of there. At Ranch, all people pay their condolences for Charlene, and her mother gives a speech about her life. Maddie gets up and tells about Travis, and that they're thankful for taking them in. A man stands up to Otto, asking what they will do about those who attack the Healy. Jack says that first they have sent a team to investigate, while Troy says that they mean that they'll take revenge. Maddie and Alicia get to take food where people are staring at them. Maddie asks her to ignore. The distributor is a girl. As she gives them food, she introduces herself as Gretchel, daughter of Vernon. She invites Alicia to go spend time with her friends in the evening at 5 p.m. She says she'll come. When Maddie gets back to her room, Troy is lying in Nick's blanket. He says that you gave a good speech and that I took you and Alicia in, not Nick. Nick isn't worth this place. Maddie replies that he'll earn it. Nick goes to see Lucy and takes care of her. She asks him to collect supplies and they should leave. She says that I'll not forget that what these people did to our people. Maddie, Alicia, and Nick get together in their room. Nick says that they should go out to find somewhere else to live. Alicia tauntingly says that if you need my knife, Nick. Maddie tells them that this is our home now. She gets to Otto and warns him about Troy and asks him to control him. Jack asks, what did he do now? She tells them that he broke into their room and threatened Nick. Jack says that he'll take care of him. Otto asks Jack to show his tapes. She watches them and gets to know that Otto's wife Tracy was an addict and died of it. He takes her along with him to an underground room full of ammo, foods, liquors, and all essentials of life. He tells her that they call it pantry. Jack gets to Troy and asks him to stay away from the Clark family. Nick and Alicia get outside and see horse riders. Alicia tells him that during her childhood, their father sometimes took her for horse riding. She's waiting here for Gretchel. She goes with them. When she gets there, she finds out that they do soft drugs here. And one of them, Jeff, is undead, and his only left head in a cage is here. They chat about many things. Gretchel asks her, what did you do outside? Alicia tells that I killed a man. It gets evening. Troy asks Nick to go with him for hunting. He agrees and takes gun offered by him, sit in, and go. When they get there and split, Troy follows him. Nick knows it and falls at him from bushes. He asks, what's wrong with you? After a little of argue, Nick shots ground near him, throw his gun, and leave with his notebook. Troy gets his notebook from him, and both fall. They both laugh loud. Troy says that we can be friends. It's late night, and Otto and Maddie chat about their sons. While it gets morning, Alicia and others get back. Jack asks Alicia that how did it go? She replies with, how does it seems be? During breakfast, Otto and Jack announce that McCarthy and their team left their investigation spot 36 hours ago. They need volunteers for search and rescue team. 4 men and Maddie raise hands to volunteer. She takes her breakfast and sits with Troy. He says, "Your children are there," she replies. "Yeah, I know." Victor gets a dam. He gets to men on guard and asks them about a man, Dante, and offers them a car. They pull a gun over him and Dante appears. They both chat about their past together. He gets him to a side of dam where his men throw a cartel man to undeads. After him, they catch Victor to throw. Dante says that you're a selfish and very greedy man and nothing can suffice you. He puts him in a cell down dawn. A man brings him water. He turns and it's his guardian angel, Daniel. Daniel is seriously injured with burns and looking for water. A small herd of undeads are in his way. He hides behind a truck. One of undead stops, sees him, and gets towards him. He tries to escape under a car, and as he gets under it, undead pulls his leg. A dog barks and attracts undead. Luckily, he's fine. He falls asleep, and when he gets up, a man gets to him, kills an undead, and pulls him out from under the vehicle. He asks his name and tells his name, Ephraim. Daniel asks for water. He asks him if he can walk. Daniel says, "I can." He gets him to a fountain. It's dry, so Daniel starts complaining if he lied. He tells him to wait a while looking at a clock. As it hits 5, water starts running through the fountain. He drinks, Ephraim fills his can, and they both leave on some sort of bicycle. They get to a place where other people are waiting for them. As they glide from a gang's truck, Daniel's leg hurts, and he falls unconscious. When he wakes up, a woman Lola treats him by cutting off combined burned skin and clothes to avoid infection. He and Ephraim get outside to collect random stuff on streets. Ephraim kills an undead with a nail in his head. They both get to their place. Daniel says, "You're a kind man, and you helped me when you didn't need to." Daniel gets his hair cut, and he finds it good. While they chat, Ephraim asks him if something then burns is burning you inside, and he replies with, "That I killed a lot of people." Upon Ephraim's asking, he tells the count of 96. Further, he tells that I wasn't in my mind and I burned the whole place and my daughter alive. I don't know, but I somehow survived. While he falls asleep, Daniel leaves. Walking near canal water, he kills an undead. As he turns, a giant undead attacks him. His wooden rod breaks and he sits on his knees and prays for help. It's thundering over the sky, and a light strikes undead, killing him and making Daniel unconscious on the edge of water. At a dam, 2 workers find him, and they tell their supervisor, who is the same woman Lola. To keep him safe, she gives him a uniform of a worker. Security head JC asks her about him, and she replies with that he's needed for water treatment and cleanliness. After working, he gets to have his lunch. Boss Dante gets in there, and everyone stands except him. JC tells him that he needs to stand when the boss enters and puts a finger in his cake. Daniel puts a fork on his hand. As JC pulls his gun, Dante stops him. After an intro, he checks Daniel's underteeth and tells that he's a Sombra Nera, a killer. He recruits him in his security. He takes him to the dam and asks what you need. Daniel asks for a jeep while he asks him to stay here and work for him to catch water stealers. He goes to the market with their truck. This time they reach the fountain and it's dry. They turn back and it gets 5 o'clock and water starts dripping. To save the water source, he exposes Ephraim's place and they catch him. Lola tells him that he saved you, and you did this to him. Daniel replies that it's to save them all. With coincidence, he's standing near the door when Victor gets here and is put in the cell. He brings water to him and asks if Ophelia is alive. Victor assures him that Maddie, Alicia, Ophelia, and him had got out of the house and she's alive. He lets him stay here in the cell. Dante calls him to investigate and make Ephraim talk. He asks them to give him space. He tells him that if you tell about others, they'll kill them, but if you don't tell, I'll kill you. He beats him, and when he's about to hit him with a nail hammer, Lola comes front and saves him, and they're exposed. Dante catches others. He throws one of them and asks Daniel to throw Lola and Ephraim. He kills JC, guards, and Dante himself. He hands over the gun to Lola and asks her to finish him. She gives a hand to get him up. In a night, Russell wakes up and sees Martha has turned. He lets her get to him. She's teethless. He kills both of themselves with a single bullet. A fire lamp causes fire. Nick gets up and sees that the community is running towards fire. They get there and try to put out the fire. Otto gets here and says them to stop and save them since Russell and Martha are already gone. Madison and Troy prepare to leave with 4 men. Alicia tells her to do not trust him. Maddie says he'll not do anything. She sits front seat and they leave. Alicia gets to have coffee where Jack meets. He makes a joke about her praying at night. She's in a bad mood. She says, "Stop playing, Jake." Her coffee falls, so Jake gives her his own and leaves. Nick brings breakfast for Lucy with butter. Lucy picks the topic that when they'll leave. She says that I can see that you're worried about your family. Nick makes it let go at that moment. Alicia gets to Jake. He notices that she's sad and asks what's wrong. She kisses him and feels good and make out more. Nick works on Russell's burnt house to renovate it. Otto gets to him and joins. He finds his gun. He tells Nick about this house, that this was actually his and Jack was born here. When he moved with his second wife to a bigger house, he gave it to Russell and this gun. Alicia gets up, and as she's leaving, Jack stops her and gives a book of art and poetry. She refuses to take, says that this has got nothing to do with her interests now. While Nick sees Lucy, Otto notices his confusion and advises him to focus on what do you want. Nick gets to Lucy at night. He arranges a surprise for her, and they spend quality time together. Nick tells her that Russell and Martha had met during the Korean War. Otto told me. When he gets up next morning, Lucy has left a note and has gone. Jack gets to Alicia, takes her along to the lake. He tells her about Red Indians and his father. That how they took lands from Red Indians, and now they have to protect these from others for taking these. Alicia gets to the cliff and jumps. She falls into the water. Her mood is improved, and she's happier now. On the way, Troy's convoy stops near a fell prisoner's truck. They get there and finish all of Undead's within a minute. When they get to the crash site, the helicopter is gone, and they find bullets of .223 caliber. Troy says that Phil had a fight here with someone, and they must have returned to the outpost. When they get to the outpost, they find everything strange. They find that their people are burnt, and Phil is sitting as dead and undead on the edge of the cliff, and a bird is eating his brain. Maddie puts him to rest. As they turn, a man Walker is standing. He asks them to put down weapons as they have been surrounded. These Red Indians take their vehicles, supplies, and even boots. They walk back towards the ranch on foot. Men are tired, their feet are injured, and they stop. Maddie makes Troy agree to stop now and to continue in the morning. During midnight, Troy keeps a knife at her throat. She says, "Troy, don't do this such a little thing." He gets up and runs away. A man on her side sees this and turns his face away as well. Victor and Daniel set out to find Ophelia. On the way, they stop since walkers are passing the road, and Victor doesn't want to damage this car. Daniel asks him to run over undeads, so he starts the engine and they get going. They stop for a while to argue and finally reach the Rosarita Hotel in the evening. There's no gate and no guards. Victor says that something happened here. He gets him in along anyway. There's no one in the hall. Daniel presses the call bell, which attracts undeads. As undeads surround Victor, he asks him about Ophelia. He tells him that she is alive and had left this place. He doesn't believe him and saying that, no, she's dead. He leaves Victor and takes his truck. Victor runs the other way to save himself. Jeremiah Otto is teaching Nick to mark and aim well. He is worried about her mother and others. Alicia is also worried about them. Jack tells her to trust Troy. He'll protect Madison. While practicing, they see them coming from afar. All of the people run towards gates, including Nick and Alicia. He gets to Mom, and Vernon gets to Mike, and the same about others. Otto asks them to get them in private to know about what happened. Vernon insists that all of them have the right to know. Mike opens his mouth and spits out everything, that it's Indians. They slaughtered everyone. If we stay, we'll die. Troy wants to attack them back. Otto says we'll not attack because Walker is weak. Jack wants to negotiate with it. Jack would talk to people about it. Nick and Alicia bring Mom to their room, take off her socks. She sees Lucy is gone. He tells her she's gone to Mexicali. She has friends there. Jack is practicing shooting. Alicia gets to him, attends him towards her. She says sorry about his people. He says, I didn't know most of them, except Phil McCarthy. He wasn't a good man. She asks if I shoot. He teaches her about safety, semi-auto and full auto. You keep it semi-auto. While she correctly holds the gun, she asks what'll happen after your dad. Jack tells that people need someone to lead, and it can be anyone. She tells him your dad wants you to be. He puts noise-canceling phones on her and she shoots. Gretchen comes to Madison's room. She tells her that her father is taking them from here to mountains. It gets night. Otto is looking at his champagne bottle. He sees a red reflection and gets out of the house and sees a fire which keeps turning to 2, 3, and all around the ranch. It gets morning and they go to check. They put out the fire on 20 places, 50 feet afar from the ranch. Jack says he's trying to scare us to leave. People are leaving ranch. Nick is here at the pantry. Troy stops and asks him, "What are you doing here and alone since Luciana is gone?" He replies, "I want Woods and do not speak her name again." He stops Dax and Mrs. Daly from taking supplies. She tells him that go and ask your father, he has allowed us. He leaves out of here. At tables, Otto and Madison are about to talk about Vernon, and he appears here. He tells him that we are friends of 30 years, but now my family needs me and I have to protect them. I'm going. I'm sorry. Nick gets angry and runs to the main gate. He asks Jimmy to not open the door and starts screaming at Vernon and Mike. He wants to inspect them for supplies they're taking. Jack stops him, and that Dad allowed them, let them go. They both argue, and Troy punches him. Seeing this, Otto hastily punches Troy and hurts his hand. Jimmy opens the gate, and their van leaves. Madison gets to the pantry where Troy is securing weapons in case something happens, and people will fall on these. She motivates him to stop others from going. He gives them a speech and orders them to forget about Mike and become an example for their people. Nick returns to his house and sees Otto is here setting the table. He has a champagne. He wants him to join him, but Nick says, "I'm high in life." He laughs. He tells him that they were 4 friends who planned one night in this house and built this ranch and organization. Now 2 are dead and 3rd is dead for me. He shoots thrice at Nick's table. He takes his gun and lies on his bed. He's saying that this land has blood. Here, as Alicia comes back, Madison knows that she was with Jack. She asks her if you want him? "Want him, but do not love him," she replies. It's morning, and Otto is up. Nick is waiting for him with coffee. He tells him, "I was at Alicia and Mom's room. What's happened here?" There's a horse at the wall. Otto, Madison, and Nick leave to find out about it. They find their truck on the way painted with bullet fires. Vernon, Kathy, Mike are dead. 3 undeads are eating horse. Madison can't shoot Gretchen. Nick does it for her. They load their bodies. They doubt Troy. He tells her that he wasn't like this before, not to his own people. They return to the ranch and show them their bodies. Madison tells them that it was Walker who killed them. Troy knows that they know about him. In the pantry, Nick says, "After such a huge lie, how would you sleep at night? It was important." He says, "Just do not forget that what he's." She gets to Troy. He tells, "He didn't even look in my eyes like Vernon did to my father. I went to them, and it went wrong." She tells him to take the lead for people for the upcoming fight since Jack is not able for it. Jack is leaving for Black Hat Reservation to Walker. Alicia tries to stop him, but he doesn't. After Vernon's family is dead, she packs to go behind Jack. Jack is on his way. He hears someone and hides to see who it is. It's Alicia. She tells him that Vernon and his family are dead. They both head for the Walker. They reach Black Hat Reservation. They take them at gunpoint, and here comes Taka with the head of a slaughtered animal. He gets them inside and offers lunch. The lady who serves it is Ophelia. Jake wants Parley. Walker wants all 4 founding fathers dead. Now, Otto is left, and he wants him dead. But he agrees on Parley if they get enough water reserves from Otto. They decide to keep hostages, Jack from this side and Ophelia from his side, until the Parley is official from both sides. She knows from Ophelia that Taka saved her from the desert, and he's on the right side. "I'm sorry for the hotel," she apologizes. Alicia exchanges places with Jack and wants to stay here. Madison gets to Nick to ask about Alicia since she's missing. Otto gets here asking about Jack and Alicia as well. Jack has left and was last seen with a backpack. Troy is looking for new recruits. "Go join him so that we'll know that we're not sending a sheep to be slaughtered to the enemy," Otto says to Nick. He gets to Troy. "I want to join." "Why do you want to join?" "I have done bad things. Travis is dead, my sister is missing, and I need something to do. And I want to save all from Vernon's killer." He gives him a gun. Nick cuts his hair to look professional. Jack, along with Ophelia, reaches here. They immediately ask him about Alicia. She's a hostage, and Ophelia is our hostage until the Parley. She stopped by her will, they tell her. He asks Otto to give him water reserves to stop this fight. "What about Alicia?" "He left her there with those savages," she adds to the conversation. He says, "I'll not give a single drop to him, even if he's dying." Taka takes her on a tour around. He shows her the chopper they hit. "I was inside the helicopter, and one of my family died. You killed him," she says. He takes her to his trailer where he shows her antiques, which includes the skull of his great-grandfather. He took it since he was buried in a cave to keep it safe from treasure hunters, and shows her a painting. Here, Madison gets to Troy to agree to take back Alicia to the ranch from them. It's night and Alicia is alone. She is feeding animals, and someone puts a hand on her mouth and pulls. It's Troy. They have an Indian. He tries to run, he slits his throat and kills him. Dogs start barking. Nick sees that they are going to get exposed. He attacks the incoming man. Troy saves him using a gun, and everyone is alert. She brings the truck down, takes all of them in, and leaves. They reach back ranch and stop at Otto's residence. "How many have you killed?" "4 or 5, he replies. "Those who don't understand have to be understood by force," he says to Madison. Jack is tying water reserves well, and he's going back to Taka. She asks her to stop, but she'll go. They get the reservation. A man gets him out and punches. Taka stops him, cuts his forehead right, and is about to kill him. Ophelia stops him. He asks him to go tell your dad that I'll kill all of you one by one. At the ranch's gate, guards get alert as a biker with a white flag drops Ophelia. She tells them that he doubts her for leaking his information to Otto's. He gives her responsibility to her. She takes her to her house. Troy announces next 48 hours extreme alert. They'll protect with their lives. He asks him to stay inside. Ophelia asks her if you really believe that Walker killed Vernon's family. At the main gate, Joe starts feeling sick and vomits. Coop radios for help. Blake is sick as well. They hear noise and get out while she stays. Jimmy is turned. Nick gets to the place of the incident. People have turned. One of them attacks Coop. He saves him. They get here as well and find Nick. He calls her and she runs. He tells them to stop. She did it. He is sick as well. Madison chases her alone. Walia takes a shortcut to the desert border and ends up with a man named Otto. He gives her water and knows about her destination towards Santa Fe. He asks her to get back to where she came from and denies taking her with because of being brown. She tries to run, but Madison breaks windows and gets her. People are covering dead bodies and treating the sick. Nick is also sick. Otto gets to the tent and kills one of the militias. Madison asks Jack to give antibiotics to Nick and leaves with Ophelia. On the way, she confesses that it was just to make the militia sick and didn't mean to kill them. They reach their reservation and take her at gunpoint and get to Taka. His fight is with Otto's, and she doesn't care about what he thinks about them. He asks her about Nick's age, which is 19, and he tells him if he's strong, he'll live. He asks his men to lower their guns and let her go. Madison argues to gather people and recruit them into the militia. Jack tells her to stop, since she doesn't run this ranch, and gets out of the tent. He tells them Madison is right. Give people guns who are able to carry. War is the last option now. Alicia says that she has another way. Nick calls Jack and asks him to uncuff him. Jack is sick as well. He asks him to rest and uncuff him because if there is an attack, he wants to be with the militia instead of in bed. He gets to the mass digging of graves. A lot of militia have died. Ophelia asks him that he didn't tell her that it was anthrax and now she's a murderer. There are fires outside. They run towards there. His man tells that it'll consume all their water. His men start firing at a group, which is Troy, Madison, and their men. They steal Taka's trailer, and in this attempt, many of his men die. Only he escapes among his men. Nick digs the floor of his cabin he got after Russell and finds a skull. He takes it to Otto and gets to know about it and the related story. Otto killed Taka's uncle when he claimed to take their lands, which his ancestors bought from Indians. He also killed his father when he came looking for his brother and buried them under his cabin to hide it. As Troy and Madison arrive at the ranch with a trailer full of relics which are important to Taka, his army already surrounds the ranch. Madison brings his father's skull to him, but it doesn't matter to him. He tells it's a shame of an old man. Madison gets to her house. He tells her kids about her childhood, that she was the daughter of a mayor of town, but he couldn't control when to stop drinking, and she was the one who killed him to save her mother. She says now they need to stop this prideful old man. She gets to his house and gives a gun and asks him to do what is necessary. He starts telling her that he was the one who gave them shelter and did everything for them. Nick enters. She has a gun in her hand now and is about to aim, but Nick already shot him. She asks him to show it as suicide. Troy and Jack get here in haste and find him dead. They take his body from the ranch covered in a truck. Madison brings Otto's head to Taka. He takes it and leaves. In Victor's story, he is looking for water on a beach cafe where he finds Abigail. He gets to it and onto it, gets his knife, and kills undead border police and 2 women. He gets to the main cabin and tries to start it, but Abigail is now done. He gets to the roof, wears his white jacket, and opens a champagne. He finds an astronaut on the radio. He tells him he is stuck in his space grave. He gets to know from him that the apocalypse has happened everywhere. The entire world is in apocalypse. He collects his guns and supplies, puts fuel on the ship, and puts it on fire. He leaves it burning on the shore. It's a good morning at the ranch for Madison. Jack is still slightly sick because of anthrax. Troy, Nick, and others are on a hunt to clear undeads on the way towards the ranch. While they're on the way back home, Indians confront them in another lane. They speed up and meet them at the ranch's gate. Jack and the people of the ranch are witnessing everything as well. They welcome them into the ranch. They show them the pantry, where Troy doesn't want Ophelia to live here because of her act of murdering the militia. Jack, along with others, is ready to accept all of them, though including her. They share the arsenal from now on with the Indians. Each of them has one key. Lola wants to go with Daniel and the water convoy while they distribute in neighborhoods. Crazy Dog and Coop are checking people for weapons, and they are treating everyone indiscriminately. Lola herself distributes water among people. Daniel is looking for Ophelia in every young face. There are undeads coming towards the truck, so people spread and run to their houses. In the gathering, Jack gives a speech to stay together and survive, while Taka provides security with his speech that his anger and ferocity died with Otto. They'll live together and spread their fear in the outside world. While Taka digs a grave for fossils of his ancestors, Alicia joins him with her advice to listen more to Jack, not her mother. His people don't join him because they don't find digging graves good. Madison finds a paper of water reserves in Otto's drawer, which tells that water was supposed to last for 4 months when he was alive. Troy spills coffee, which the Indians made. Terrence attacks Crazy Dog, but with Nick's respects, it marks another man. Crazy Dog tries to stop him breathing, but Taka stops them. He's in a severe state and dying because of Crazy Dog. Taka wants to take his key to the arsenal and wants to be the sole key holder. Madison tells them it's better than dying, so give it to him. He hands it over to him. Coop, along with Indians, collects weapons from everyone. While they get to Troy, including Nick and Taka, first he lets them. After they're done with searching and find nothing, they want to check upstairs. Troy pulls out a gun and fires in the air. Everyone gets out while Nick stays with him. They close the door. Kala asks for 5 men to attack them from the front. Troy has a rifle. He hands over one to Nick. While he gets to the window, Madison tries to still stop him. Someone from the Indians opens fire, and it leads to a fight. One of them tries to stab distracted Nick, but Troy saves him. They get upstairs and close the door with a bat. He has rifles here under the bed. Nick tries to stop him from bloodshed and save themselves. At the dam, undeads keep coming. Lola tells Daniel that they were looking for her, but as a friend, I advise you, from east to west and desert to beaches, everything is infested. Hope will break you. There are lights of fires in the house as they exchange intense fire. Nick tells him that your father gave his life for the ranch, so don't ruin it. He doesn't care, so he tells him that he didn't kill himself. I killed him. It breaks Troy. He drops his gun, and Indians get in. Taka wants to punish them both, Nick and Troy. He and Madison both agree to exile Troy and punish Nick, but he'll stay inside and alive. Jack comes to see him and asks about his hand. Troy demands him for Madison to leave him out of the ranch. Neither Taka nor him, but her. They give him supplies, 1 knife, and 1 bullet while they take Nick to lock him away for the next days. Truck takes them away enough, and she asks the Indian to take off his mask. He even stabs him, but Madison stops him from going further. He engages in an intense conversation about killing Otto, which ends in agreement. He leaves with his bag, and she doesn't shoot him. She can't. At water distribution in neighborhoods, a man claims that they killed workers and took over the dam. They attack them and try to snatch the truck. They get inside their truck to leave. Madison, Victor, and Taka keep going with their truck towards the dam. They stop as the road is blocked because of herds of undeads. They have almost reached the dam after the next turn. Victor throws a sound-making device, which attracts undeads, and they leave by clearing the road and vehicles with their truck. They reach a yard full of useless vehicles. He closes fences after they're in. His eyes are looking for something. Well, he stands on a car. They move it, and there's an opening of a sewer tunnel. They have to go through it. They get inside one by one and keep going. He's looking for a way with an eye symbol, which is the right way crafted in the tunnel by Proctor's men. They face undeads and turn their way a few times. Taka goes the other way. Inside the tunnel, Victor tells her Daniel is at the dam and he caught him lying about Ophelia. She lets him know that his promise is going to be true now since she's at the ranch. They find the eye symbol. Taka gets here as well and they run. From two ways, they take one to the dam. There's a fat undead on the way and their path is blocked. Madison cuts him into parts and gives them back to Victor and Taka, and they make their way through. After running in the truck, Daniel shoots some bullets in the air towards people, and they get back to the dam. He instructs them to get inside while he sees someone and shoots at. He's lying down. It's Strand, Madison, and Taka. He asks about Ophelia, and she lets him know she's at the ranch. He takes them in and knows about what they need. Madison believes Daniel will make a way for them. They go inside to Lola and ask for water, but to avoid rebels from neighborhoods noticing it, she declines their demand. While Madison is cleaning her some clothes, Victor tells her that the dam is a food place for you to live. She tells him that she grew up in a place like the ranch. Though it has risks and challenges, I prefer to live there. At night, Lola tells her that if she and her kids want to come and live here, they're welcomed. Victor treats a fat security guard by telling him that he has got experience from before and patches him. Ephraim calls him a snake. Taka leaves as Lola is not agreeing, so he tells Madison that ranchers will have to go and Indians will only live there. Daniel gets to Victor and sees him looking at the water truck. He tells him to find a way to get a deal from Lola. Whatever way you do it, I'll never complain. As they're leaving, the water truck standing in front of them explodes. Lola, Daniel, and guards get to the spot. Daniel tells them it's those people, and they actually hear them shouting and coming towards. Guards close fences while all of them get into Lola's office. Lola gives Madison a list of weapons they need. She tells her that they can provide, and they have a deal. They will take one now and 1,000 gallons every week until it rains. They decide the stadium as it's 5 days the deal will be made, and Ophelia must be there with them. They have a truck full of water now, and they are on their way. Pick up smiling Taka on the way and continue going on. While Nick is suffering from heat and thirst, Troy appears as his angel. He plays mind games with him for a while and then opens the door. As he tries to get up, he realizes he's hallucinating. Ranch is low on water, pond is dry. Taka knows a place which is 2 days of drive from the ranch, and they can get water from there. They tell this to Jack, Alicia, Ophelia, and Crazy Dog. While they'll be gone, Crazy Dog and his 2 men will have guns to keep peace. Madison tells her that with this limited distribution of water, it'll last 6 weeks only. People start complaining to Jack. They want more gallons than just 2 for themselves and their animals. Alicia tells them that he sacrificed his father and brother to protect you. Everything will be all right. They understand it and get all right with this decision. Before leaving, Madison goes to check on Nick and gives water and says sorry. She gives Alicia a long-range radio and leaves in a truck. Crazy Dog gets Nick out of the box, gives him water, and tells him that his eyes will be on him. Alicia takes him and brings him to Otto's house. She tells him to save water and tells him about the situation. Madison talks to Alicia on the walkie and asks if he's out now. She tells her about him being all right, but dehydrated. Madison and Taka spend the night on the way. The next day, they reach the stadium. They see some people tied to the wall with chains. Taka wants to help them, but to avoid anything from the hosts, they get inside. The woman on the door asks for Madison's walkie, and they can stay 3 days inside. She tries calling Alicia, but there's no response, so she gives it to her, and they let them in. While Nick is in sleep, he hears a noise, gets up, and gets to the balcony. It's Blake and his companions. They tell him that they're not here to hurt him. They invite him to lead them to attack Indians. On his response that we do not have guns, Blake gives the last gun to him. They tell him you most deserve it, and they leave. Madison and Taka meet a Chinese woman, Maria Liu, for water. While he's dealing with her, some guards of the stadium are beating Victor. He asks Madison to stay away. She attacks them anyway with a shovel, gets him, and runs. He takes them to his place. In the water distribution line of people, Blake tells Nick about a woman passing them that she is taking water for the 2nd time in a day. People are cheating. Taka gets to the bazaar where he's caught. They find Victor and Madison as well. They are going to tie him to the wall until his debt is paid this way. They tie him with others. Alicia comes to Ophelia to demand for stopping her people from cheating in water. She doesn't agree with her that it's them. Young lefties of militia and the ranch want to attack Indians. Nick tells them that they can't face them without weapons, but if they have the weapons arsenal, there'll be no bloodshed. He will act when it's the right time, he tells them. In his house, Alicia is waiting with his gun. She asks him about it, and he tells her that Militia thinks I can protect them and give them freedom. At the bar, Taka informs Madison that he has made a deal and will get water in the morning. The next day, a herd of undeads attacks Victor. While he's about to be dominated by them, guards kill them and get him untied since Madison has paid his debt. Taka asks what she traded their goods, which were meant for water, for him. She replies that now he'll take us to the dam and we'll have a permanent solution for water. Here at the ranch, a woman is filling water much more than her quota. Alicia tries to stop her. She starts criticizing her for being such nicer to Indians. She tells them that we don't have much left than 6 weeks. People start fighting for water. Crazy Dog fires in the air and claims to take over the well from now on. Nick doesn't give him way and stands firm with his gun in hand. Ranchers stand by him, and Crazy Dog has to leave for peace. At night, militia members gather hand weapons in a tent, and the next day, they surround Ophelia's house and hide near it with hand weapons. They see some Indians and Alicia digging on their side. Crazy Dog and Ophelia have already seen them and are waiting to respond. Though Nick leaves and hands over the gun to Blake, Crazy Dog stops his man from taking fire. He gives a hand to Alicia. All members of the militia join them. It's hot in pantry, as so many people have moved in. Alicia gets to liquids to have electrolyte, where she sees Blake lifting his shirt to check the bite on his waist. Their eyes match. Ophelia and Crazy Dog tell her that the vent is not working and air is not properly coming in. Troy and Nick plan to save them, and Nick tells him to just zip him, and they don't have time for burying him. They have to get to protect them. Alicia calculates time. They will be able to breathe for the next 2 hours only, and then all of them will suffocate to death because of carbon dioxide. And to reach and get back from the vent, they will require a total of 4 hours. Blake and Crazy Dog suggest putting those to rest who are bitten, since they are going to die anyway. At least this way, they will save themselves from some of the carbon dioxide. Alicia gets to people and tells them about the vent problem and that they need to put to rest bitten ones, so they have to come forward. At first, they don't come forward. Blake steps ahead, and then all of them, one by one. Ophelia and Crazy Dog get into the vent to go fix it. She gets them into a corner. They are going to give them morphine and then put to rest using a knife, since they don't have enough bullets for that. They start with a volunteer from Indians. They get him into an alone room. She asks him if he's ready. He lays down, and she gives him morphine, and using a knife, puts him to rest. She can't bear doing this to them, so she gets into a corner and cries. Christine comes to her to muster up her courage. She tells her that she is doing right. When they are finished with them, it's Blake's turn. While she's doing it, he cries while telling her that he's sorry for all this. She tells him it's okay and gives morphine. Troy and Nick plan to blow up fuel reserves to distract undead and get to the pantry on the truck. Nick blows up one, gets inside, and Troy drives insanely. He ends up hitting a trailer. Both get out and run towards the helicopter. They get inside, close its door, and Nick tries to start it while Troy guides him. He pulls out a gun and tells him who's going to go first for it. In the vent, Ophelia and Crazy Dog keep going until they reach a curved downside, and they have to turn themselves to land with legs first. Crazy Dog gets hyper and starts getting hyperventilated. Ophelia gives him courage by talking to him about his time in Iraq and her father being almost the same person. He turns, and both land down. There's an undead stuck in the ventilator fan, and she gets up to remove the undead. He gets knocked out due to less air, and they fall. The undead falls right over her, but she is all right and shoots him. Air is coming in, and the ventilator is working. There in the pantry, everyone had passed out due to carbon dioxide. Most of them turn and attack Alicia. She kills some of them, and then the ventilator starts working, but all of them have already turned. She gets Catherine and gets inside the arsenal room and locks it. Carries a gun and shoots them. Nick and Troy are almost done since the helicopter can't fly and are surrounded all around by undead. Suddenly, there's a huge explosion. Alicia feels its shockwaves in the pantry as well. The door opens, and it's Madison, Victor, and Taka. She puts Christine to rest and leaves out of there. Nick appreciates Victor's plan to blow up fuel reserves, and they have enough fuel in vehicles as well to get to the stadium. Alicia decides that she will not go with Madison, since everywhere is the same, and she is a problem, not others. She takes a vehicle and leaves for the desert cabin, which Jack had told her about. Nick tells Madison that he'll go behind her to see to safely get her to the cabin. He and Troy leave together, while Madison and others are on their own way. Troy is surviving in loneliness. He eats a snack and writes something in a diary. He gets to the outpost, where Phil's body is still on the chair. He gets inside the barn and finds a ration to eat. He gets to another room, where he sees a cupboard with a frame hanging. As he knocks it, he finds out it's a hidden space, and he finds a shell rifle with enough shells. He puts Phil in a grave. He eats, writes, and falls asleep near the fire. At the ranch, due to being low on water, cows are dying. Nick kills one of them. Jack tells Alicia that they're killing cows now, and will keep some that give milk. He tells her that there are other places like this where people would have prepared, like Otto. One of their cabins is in the desert, and there's good hunting there to survive. We can go live there, he says. She tells him this is the safest place, and they have supplies here. Crazy Dog and Ophelia chat about people accepting them, like seeing Nick. It gets morning, and he gets up and sits on Phil's chair with the gun. He wants to end himself, but he hears a sound from behind him. He turns and fires in the air. When Nick is trying to sleep at night, he hears a sound, gets up to the balcony, and lights a cigarette. It's Troy. He tells him that he saved his life in his way. Now he wants to equal it. He tells him that a very big animal is coming, maybe from the desert, and it'll engulf everything in its way. Nick asks him to either leave or stay for 4 days. He closes the door and tells him to bring Jack along to see it tomorrow. When it gets morning, Jack is still on his topic to go to the desert cabin, and Alicia tells him, "We're not going anywhere, Jack." He argues with her over whether she wants him or not. Nick gets there and tells her that last night Troy came and told them that something big is coming from the desert. Jack says he doesn't know north, so he went west to the outpost. "We have to get there now," he says. They pack and get to the vehicle to leave. Alicia grabs Jack's hand and tells him, "I did everything for you." As they're going near the desert, they see a huge storm of dust from the desert. They stop their vehicle and see it's so many undead, enough to engulf the ranch. He radios her and tells her that a lot of undead are coming. At the ranch, Alicia tells this to Ophelia and asks her to trust her. Nick and Jack decide to stop them from turning right. As they run to the vehicle, a shell fire blasts, leading them to the right. It's Troy. They both get down to him. Jack points a loaded gun at him, while Nick tries to make him understand and stop him. He gets up and fires another shell. Jack punches him with the gun and wants to shoot him. Nick stops him, saying, "You'll always regret it. Don't do this." At the ranch, they all hear the sound of the shell explosion and see dust representing the undead coming toward them from just half a mile away. Now all of them are going to need guns. Crazy Dog gives them the arsenal's key. Troy tells Jack about Otto, that Nick killed him, which weakens him from inside. And he is about to kill Troy when Nick hits him, and he falls down. The undead attack, and one of them bites him on the arm. Nick asks Troy about the time before the infection spreads. Troy straightens his arm, and Nick cuts it. At the ranch, Crazy Dog builds a defense of all the vehicles around them so that the undead pass around them and they stay inside in between until they pass. They already have gotten inside and have spread. They start pushing vehicles and coming from underneath. They all kill them with hand weapons, but they can't stop what's behind these vehicles. Nick and Troy are on their way through the undead toward the ranch. Vehicles fall, and Alicia tells them to get inside the pantry. Nick is watching this from his house. The undead already take many of them. They take Coop, and he can't kill himself with his empty gun. Alicia does it. She then saves Ophelia, and all of them get inside the pantry. Jack is dead. Troy says, "He was the nicest of all of us. He doesn't deserve to die like this. He has turned." He puts him to sleep. He tells Nick, "I need sleep." Nick tells him that first they need to save those he has put to death. Then he can sleep after he dies. The ranch is occupied, and a lot of people have gotten inside and are looking at the gate. While Madison, Victor, Ophelia, and Crazy Dog are going, Victor warns Madison about the importance of this deal with Daniel. On the way, Ophelia passes out and falls on the road. Crazy Dog shouts at them to stop. They stop and get to her. At first, Crazy Dog notices, and then Madison sees that she is bitten on the shoulder. Ophelia says they should go. Madison says, "We should talk a little before that." She asks her to take her to her dad, and Madison says they'll take her too. Alicia spends her time in a closed store. She is eating near a lit fire. Someone has gotten inside. She checks out with a gun and fires at them to tell them to leave. It's Nick and Troy. They eat together and talk. Nick asks her to get back with them since living alone is risky. She says she would be okay alone, just like he was before, and she can take care of herself. They get out to leave. Nick hugs her while Troy peeks through the truck. He gets inside and they leave. On the way, Nick tells him that he stayed at the ranch because Travis was dead, Luciana was sick, and Mom was breaking from inside. Troy says no, you actually stayed because you like me, and laughs. Madison and the others reach the stadium. They change Ophelia's shirt and ask her to smile so no one can suspect her. They get fewer credits this time, 300 instead of 500, but they take it. A man checks her and lets them get in. They bring her to Victor's place. Madison brings tablets for her fever and electrolytes for strength. Taka tells her that giving a daughter to a father to be buried by him is a great act, and she should do it at all costs. She appreciates his thoughts and motivation for her. Nick and Troy get there. Nick goes to their place where Madison is sleeping while sitting near Ophelia. Nick wakes her and tells her that he couldn't bring Alicia back, and she says it's okay, and hugs him. He asks her to go outside for fresh air, and he sits with Ophelia. He takes her tablets. Troy orders food. While Nick gets there and asks the waitress for drinks, he says, I don't drink. Nick takes out tablets and asks the waitress by touching her waist where to find fun. She tells him to look for the slaughterhouse. They both take tablets with drinks. Victor is going while passing rooms of fun and cards. He tries to go through a fancy fence. Proctor's men catch him. He tells them that he wants to meet Proctor since he has a very special thing for him. Madison tells Ophelia that it's time now. Sue takes her and asks Taka not to go with her before Daniel. It's risky for him. She makes her sit there and talks to her. She tells her that she wanted to know his father, his other side. After that, she passes away. And at the exact moment, Daniel arrives. She gets to him and tries to stop him from getting to her. He gets to her, and upon seeing her passed away, he cries and pulls out a gun at Madison, asking what happened. She tells him that undeads attacked the ranch and she saved them all. He asks her to go from here or he'll shoot her. She gets out of there. Nick and Troy are drugged. They ask two guys about the slaughterhouse and get there. There are addicts here. They ask the bartender about what he has. He shows all drugs. Nick wants something the strongest. He gives them brainstem of something for free. They both take it. Nick jumps over the stadium's wall and gets outside. Troy is on his back, trying to stop him. He says let's do something new and kills a nearby undead in the truck by the door and puts its blood on Troy and himself. He runs towards the undeads and stands among them. Troy is scared, but upon seeing him standing among them and they're passing around, he gets to him and hugs him to stop him from interacting loudly with the undeads. Daniel comes to Madison. He tells her that he buried her under a tree. He asks her what she said about him in her last moments. She tells him that. He tells her that she once saw his other side and got frightened. He tells her to pack and go with him. She tells him that there are others with her, and he tells her okay. While Madison is leaving with the truck convoy for the dam, Nick gets to her and tells her that he and Troy are staying here since they can buy and sell here. Victor asks her if she's ready, and they go. Alicia goes to a store and cafe to find supplies. There's an undead on the table. She finds a bucket of potatoes. Undeads are coming in, so she hides in a softballs pool. A girl enters, kills the undeads, takes her bucket, and leaves with it. There's an undead girl in the balls, and she attacks Alicia. She defends herself in the balls and kills her. She gets out of them and gets to the vehicle of that girl and carries the bucket. She is standing a little afar from her and tells her to keep it back. Alicia says that it's hers and they both need a meal. They can distribute it in half, and she doesn't want to kill her. They both share it and eat together. They stay together for a while, and she gives Alicia a good luck ring, which is disgusting, so she returns it. When she gets up and gets outside, that girl is fixing her vehicle to leave. It's an old day, and Madison is making steak and potatoes. Someone has come. She gets her jacket and gets to welcome them near Alicia's grave. It's Nick and Luciana with their baby. She asks them to get in. They leave to go. As she tries to stop them, a scary voice comes from the child. They leave. It's Ranch. Proctor and his men are getting to the dam by boats. They see bodies in the water. People who welcome them include Victor. He asks Victor, "You said this task would happen without bloodshed. Our drinking has dead bodies. Their dozen men have died." He says after changing bandage and resting, he'll tour the dam. She asks Victor if Madison and Nick are fine. He tells her Nick came to aware them and all this happened, but they're safe. Nick asks, "What if I was an addict? Wouldn't it be right that you would have received a call from hospital about me?" "You killed Troy." She says, "I did it for you and Alicia." She says, "One day you'll not have a choice." Nick says, "Yeah, one day you'll not have a choice about me." They hear guns fires. Lola takes care of Daniel's face. He gives her a gun and asks to leave. She leaves. Nick says to Proctor that you can bear enough pain. He says, I have done yoga. He asks her about how do you know Victor? She tells him that Victor saved her family from Los Angeles. He tells her that in Victor's terms, one was not to kill a woman named Madison. But the bargain is over because of Strand's lie. He says, I'll let them go if you go with me to Tampico. We'll go to the left of Houston. She says she'll go with him. Victor opens the door and Madison puts the gun at him. He tells Alicia is here. She is with Proctor. He gives Nick a coat. She says, your time has come, right? She asks, who did you kill? He says, Daniel. I did it for you. He was alive when I left and I didn't kill Lola. Lola gets to Ephraim. He has a bullet in head. She gets out of there. Victor takes Madison in jackets and caps and asks them to get mixed in crowd. He tells men that these are traitors. Lola attacks and kills a few men. Proctor kills her and says, what's this new thing? Victor says, I can make you understand. Proctor says that Water Queen was alive when she was supposed to be dead. He asks Alicia to meet her mom. They hug. He asks, what role are you playing in this deadly family? His man tells him that he and another white man were asking them questions. They say Troy is dead. He says, I'll first kill you, Alicia, and then Nick and Madison will watch this happening and I'll kill her last. They take them to the top of the dam. All of them hug. He says, happy journey to Victor and hugs him. Victor says that Lola and Daniel put explosives in dam's base. Proctor says you're lying and asks his men to cut his tongue first. Nick has detonator. They ask him to do not touch other button. He says one which has detonator written on it. Madison has made steak and put it on the table. Everyone is present here, including Jack, Otto, and Victor. Victor gives Daniel a gift and kisses Otto's head. As she uncovers steak, it's Otto's head. Taka cuts Jack's hand. There's blood all icer table. There's no confusion in anything. Victor leaves. Madison gets outside. There's a lot of graves. Proctor asks Nick, what do you want? He asks him to tell his man to lower the gun. He checks out both sides of the dam and says Alicia and Mom will take a boat and leave. Nick tells Proctor that I'm not bargaining. It's my suicide note. He asks them to leave. There's no other way. He asks Victor to go with them and take care of them. Proctor says, you'll have to die now. Nick says, I'm not scared to die. Victor, Alicia, and Madison run towards the boat. Two men see Daniel is wounded. He takes their gun, kills them all, and gets upstairs. They're taking the boat. They start the boat and start going away from the dam. Proctor says, civilizations are built on violence. Nick says, another man told me the same thing. Now he's in his grave. As their boat stops, Proctor tries to take the detonator from him. Daniel gets to the top and sees Lola's body. They try to start the boat, but it doesn't start. Daniel keeps a sign in Lola's hand and leaves. The boat starts and they leave again. As Proctor's men try to take the detonator, they are killed by a sniper. It's Taka and Crazy Dog. His family hasn't gone much farther. He orders them to shoot him. The sniper kills him and most of them. From the other side, Daniel starts killing them. The detonator is pressed and the base explodes. It starts cracking and breaking. Their boat is pulled by the water flow backward to the other side of the dam. Taka and Crazy Dog see them and now leave for the north. Water flows over Troy's body. Their boat is pulled in with the flow. Madison gets to Otto's grave and the undead pulls her inside. She is in the water, actually. She's passed out. Someone takes her hand. It's Travis. She opens her eyes within the water deep beneath. She gets to the surface and gets to the side where people are filling their pails. A little girl gets to her and says, Hola! This season ends with this water story. Nick is collecting undead's heads and bringing them to the stadium, to the bartender in the slaughterhouse. He cuts them to find something to use as a drug. He pays him for them. Nick is wandering in the stadium among escorts, bars, etc. Troy is outside socializing with Proctor's men. He gets to Nick and tells him that Proctor's men have boats, guns, and everything, and they're gonna attack the dam, so they need to warn them. Alicia and that girl are going towards the stadium. An unknown vehicle hits them from the side. They are looters. The other girl fights while she's a little hurt. She gets out anyway and fights. She takes her gun and fires in the air and asks them to go. She fires at them in the air and they run away. She gives first aid to that girl since her leg is hurt. At the dam, Victor joins Madison to chat. She tells him that she wants to make cookies and turkey for kids at Christmas, but they're gone now, and so is the ranch. He tells her about looking beyond the water to a village, which has everything to build a home there. He gives her a drink. Madison is told that Nick is here. Troy tells them everything about Proctor and their boats and guns. Victor asks Madison and Nick to leave, but they decide to stay with Daniel and Lola. They decide to lock all three entering paths. Madison gets to see Taka and Crazy Dog. They thank her for all the time together and are leaving. They'll keep an eye on the road on their way for them. Victor tells Nick that he made a deal with Proctor to save his friends and for his benefit, since he'll make him governor of the dam, and he wants him and Madison to go. Nick gets to Daniel. He asks, "Were you inside when all of them were in the bunker?" He says, "No, I wasn't. I was outside and trying to stop undeads." Daniel asks, "Where did they come from?" Nick says, "Troy saw them, but when we got there, it was too late." Daniel closes the door and asks him to sit. He's gonna investigate him. He sits down. Troy and Madison are setting explosives under the dam. He sets them a little higher and tells her she's very short. He says, "Nick and I made me scared one night, and I'm grateful to him for this. He's like his brother." She says, "We are guests here." He says, "You know you were my guests at the ranch, but now we are a bonded family." He asks, "Are we friends?" She says, "Yeah, we are friends," and asks him for the explosive. Nick says he hadn't slept. Daniel asks, "Tell me about Troy. That herd of undeads was led by someone and you know him. Tell me and do not force me." Proctor asks about Alicia. He says she's a new assistant. He asks about where she is from. She tells him about Los Angeles. He wants to make a huge trade route, but there's a growth on his spine which is stopping him. It needs to be extracted now. He tells her that if surgery is successful, she'll get a chance to go to Texas with them. In case he dies, his men will kill all of them. Daniel says, "After listening to you, it is one among Jack, Troy, or you." He says, "It was Jack. Troy loved the ranch, but Jack had changed after his father's death. He knew that I killed his father, so he destroyed the ranch." Daniel lets him go. They are going to do surgery on him while he is awake. He says, "How a woman can hold a man, 10 men can't." She holds his hand and talks to him while Eddie does surgery on him. He can see the tumor. Proctor wants him to remove it. She asks him to forget about it and talk to her. The valve is supposed to pump to the west. Victor says, "It must be Lola." Troy tells Madison how to use the detonator. Nick tells Madison to leave by telling her about Victor and that Daniel will kill Troy since he brought the herd to the ranch. She says, "You took my husband, kids, and Jack." He says, "I had all rights and I'll do it again. It was my home." She hits him with the tool she's holding in her hand and he falls and seems dead. After surgery, Alicia asks Proctor to move his toes. They move, which means the surgery was successful. His men tell him that his men have reached the tunnel pipes. He asks her to go with them. She asks if she has an option. He says, "No." As Lola tries to turn the water pump to the west, Victor aims a gun at them. Daniel asks him to give his gun. Accidentally, it is fired and Daniel is hurt. It crosses his cheek. Proctor's men are in the dam. Nick and Madison see them and run. Guards fight them and try to stop them. They kill Efrain. Victor tells them that Lola and Daniel are dead. He takes Nick and Madison along and hides them in a room. He says, "I'll try my best to keep the threat away from you." He locks them and leaves. John is eating toffee near a lit fire. He hears something maybe, so says, "Is there someone out there?" He says, "I'll be glad to hear your voice. You can come and enjoy a strawberry can. The place I used to live before had a lot of popcorn. I still have it and can give you some. Before I used to watch movies, now I read books, I can give you some. Before I leave for a year again, I want to tell you that I met someone special. She came to my house, lived with me, and we started liking each other." There's an undead. As he shoots him, it's Morgan. A man appears at Morgan's place's door. He says, "It seems like you have settled here. We fought because we want to protect people." Now it's a woman. She asks him to return to the kingdom. She says, "You know who I am, and I know who you are. You should be with ones who care about you." Now it's Rick. He says, "If you weren't here, I wouldn't have been here." "Morgan, you didn't shoot a single bullet. You're injured. You're alive and a part of this world. You helped me in the very beginning of all this." Morgan says, "I'm not the same as before." Rick says, "I need your help. You're a part of this world and will find a way to return. Get back to the kingdom. You can hide but can't run." He leaves. Morgan packs his stuff and leaves. He gets on the road. He stops at a square. He's remembering what they all said to him. It gets night while sitting there. He knows you know everything. He gets up, walks slowly, and then starts running. He checks cars, takes one until it runs out of fuel, sees other people going in a group. He keeps going for days and nights, spends a night in a container, reaches near a car, uses it until its tire goes flat. There are undeads. He avoids them and gets to a vehicle, opens it, and a man is injured by the leg. He leaves bandages and liquid medicine. He says, "Take them with yourself and close the door." He takes them, closes the door, and keeps going in the rain day and night. He sees an undead going towards a man who's talking loud. He gets to the undead to kill it, but it's already killed by John, and he asks, "What's your story?" He says, I'm John Dory, fish's name but with R-I-E. I have beans. They are tasty. Do you want me to make you some? He says no. John asks, where did you come from? Morgan says east. John shows him a gun and asks if he saw a woman with exactly this gun. Morgan says, I didn't see her. John invites him to spend the night in his van inside. As he falls asleep, Morgan gets out and leaves. He keeps going at night, gets to a tent where someone hits him. 2 men have captured him. He asks them to keep the food and let him go. John gets there, fires in the air, but their 3rd man is behind him. They make them sit both together. One is a marksman and the other is a karate man, he says. A truck gets there. It's Althea. She says, I can give you noodles and cigarettes. She opens the gun's doors and takes them with herself. John gives her a candy. She says Leland and his men are scared since most of the places have been looted. She takes the truck to a specific place, passes a snack and stops it. She opens the door and asks, who wants to come first? John pulls a gun. She says, easy there, I have to ask you questions since I'm a journalist. She records it. He tells her that Laura was fond of blackjack card player Licorice. She asks, do you think you'll find her? He says, I'm sure I will. She asks Morgan, how long have you been on the road? He says, there's no news stations left. She wants his story. He says, I'm gonna go. Morgan doesn't want to answer anything. Morgan gives him clean socks. They see a vehicle standing nearby. Leland is there for Althea. He aims a gun at her, and 2 other men aim at John and Morgan. They want the keys to her truck. John puts the gun down, but Morgan doesn't and fights back. They shoot the man on the roof. Leland pulls her out of there. A man on the roof fires at John. A door is opened, and undeads get out. She throws the keys, and when Leland comes to get them, a snake bites him. Morgan tries to get to the man on the roof. She's shot in the leg, but reaches him as his gun jams. He saves him, but he fights again, and both fall into the road. Undeads attack that man while Morgan throws a grenade. He gets out. As she gets to her truck, Leland gets out and asks her to give the keys. John shoots his hand, and undeads get him. Elle gets into the truck and asks John and Morgan to lie down, and she fires at undeads. They're fine. She thanks them for the help. They leave in the truck. Elle calls them deads, John calls them the past, and Morgan calls them walkers. Morgan asks her to stop the truck. He tells her that he came from Virginia. I walked, then in a car, and then walked again. There's a place, Alexandria and Kingdom. It had a king and a tiger. Good people lived there. There was a fight with another group. They won, but his people were lost, and so was he. Morgan leaves again. There's a truck on the way of that same man he crossed while coming from the east. As he follows him, undeads follow him. He falls, and they get closer. John kills them and says, you were wrong when you said everyone is alone. They see that undead, and he kills it. Morgan buries her. They travel together in the truck. They are going to find Laura. There's somebody ahead on the road. They pull over on the side, take their weapons, and get out. It's a woman. As they get near, it's Alicia, and it's a trap. Victor, Nick, and Luciana ask them to put down their guns. Al asks Alicia, so what's your story? It's a good day for all of them. Nick and Luciana have breakfast. Victor is getting ready. Alicia opens curtains. They all get to their works. Nick fixes pipes. Madison is standing with a small girl. Her name is Charlie. Madison asks her about her favorites. She tells her, I know it takes time to feel at home, but this is our home now. When you met us, where were you coming from? Charlie points towards a direction. It's a good day. Victor has ketchup. He puts it on eggs. Madison didn't sleep the entire night. She is making a place for Charlie. Alicia brings coffee for her. Charlie asks Nick, what's happened to the crops? He says, see it as you will not have to eat these. Charlie asks him about the pantry. How long would it last? He says, we have enough, and we are growing more. Madison plans a trip to find Charlie's parents in the direction she told about. They distract the undead by throwing balls. Victor has a pebble. Nick asks Lucy to bring a book for the child. They ask Nick, when will you get out of stadium? They leave. He keeps looking until the door is closed. Alicia eats snacks. Nick radios them and tells them that the crops have got insects. They gotta uproot and throw them. The connection cuts. They drop Victor and Lucy. They get into a store which is totally cleaned. Madison and Alicia reach near huge tanks. At one of them, a white flag with a number is written. Victor says, we didn't see not just humans, but even the undead. A meal is fresh, which means someone is here. Victor says, I don't know why Madison saved me after I deceived her. Charlie is trying to listen to their radio. Nick tells her that they have gone for her family. Madison and Alicia split. Someone puts a gun at Madison and asks for the key. Madison dials their secret clicks on the radio to alert others. She takes her keys and tries to leave. Alicia, Victor, and Luciana have surrounded her. Alicia puts down her gun. That woman falls into the tank, which is filled with the undead. Madison jumps in as well while Victor tries to open the tank's door. As they open it, the undead flow outside. They kill them. Lucy takes that woman while Alicia gets her mom out of there. Lucy finds a book. Victor asks, who did they risk their life for now? She tells her name as Naomi. She tells them it's been a long time since she was outside. Nick lights a fire to burn some crops. He peeks through the door and asks others to leave to look for them since they're late. Nick asks Charlie to open the door. She opens it. As he starts driving, he remembers glimpses from the dam. He speeds up and hits a wire stand. He gets outside the car, and a car kills an undead on his back. It's Alicia and others. Madison asks Charlie, what happened to your camp? Charlie stays silent. Naomi puts a patch on Nick's little injury. Nick leaves to see Charlie. Naomi knows from Madison that 47 people live here, and 48 if you stay. Naomi says, I'm sorry I aimed the gun at you. Madison says, we both don't know each other but are taking a chance. It's a big thing. Madison asks her to take a hot shower. Victor and another man push the car towards the stadium while Lucy keeps an eye with a sniper rifle. Lucy sees something and asks them to immediately get inside. Leave the truck and run. It's a lot of vehicles. The parking lot is full of them. A man turns on music and, on his bicycle, makes the undead chase him inside the truck, and he closes the door behind them. A man sets his chair. They put a white flag label on the undead's truck. They open the door. Madison gets outside and goes to their leader. She asks if there's a problem. She says there's a lot of guns and people inside. We know what you did to people at the camp. He tells her, you have messed up here, and asks her to tell Nick to destroy the rotten crops. He calls for Charlie. She's with them, and they knew everything about inside from her. She was here as a spy. He says, we are not taking anything. He counts all the inventory weapons and says, your time is gonna come. You have two choices. Either give us your everything and live, or we are gonna wait here until you all die. He tells his name, Mel. She says, we're not going anywhere, and goes back towards the stadium. Nick's crops are rotting. Mel's people have set up their camp outside. Alicia puts her gun on the side, picks a tool to help Madison in making a place for Naomi. Others join them one by one. Lucy gets outside and puts the book she found near where Charlie is sitting. Now in the present, Lucy asks them if they are with vultures and shows them the white flag. Nick checks her camera. They get all of them inside the truck and leave. Nick cuts crops which have gotten rotten and burns them. Their entire crops have gone to fire. Elle asks Nick, is something going inside you? Are you looking for someone? Morgan says, he doesn't want to answer. Don't ask him. Elle says, I want to help you. We are on the same team. Nick asks Luciana where they have reached. Lucy asks if Elle told them the right path. She says, yeah, I told you right, but not complete. Elle says, I'll take your story, will not let you take my van, and will not let you threaten us. Elle takes Nick at Hammer's Point, and all of the others put down their weapons and ask Luciana to stop the vehicle. Elle says, plans changed. Keep going. Nick hits her with his knee, runs, and falls over the steering wheel, which leads the truck to fall down the road into an accident. All of them are slightly injured. The door opens, and John gets Morgan. Undeads are coming, and the door is open. Madison gets to Nick and tells him that she is going outside. Nick will go outside with her to help her find supplies. As Nick opens his eyes near a heap of killed undeads, others are trying to get the truck out of the mud. Lucy says she saw a truck in the service yard behind. Victor says, for a dealership, trust is important. They cut Alicia, Lucy, and Victor, and tie Nick to the truck so that they all will return back. Morgan says, I'll stay here with Nick. My leg will slow you. John tells Morgan to stay aware of Nick and takes the others with him. Nick asks Morgan, what are you reading? He asks him to take out something to eat from his bag. He gets his big knife and cuts his handcuffs and says, now you can take it on your own. Nick tries to run. Morgan stops him with his wood and says, I'm not scared. Nick gives him a peanut butter protein bar, which he likes. Nick tells him his name. Morgan says, I'm going to the road. You do not go further than 5 feet from the truck. He checks his book, Elle's camera, and watches Morgan's footage. Morgan practices on the road. His leg is still hurting. He sees a car incoming. He runs towards the truck, gets inside, and closes it. As that car passes, Nick tries to get outside. In that attempt, the truck's horn gets loud, and Nick runs. Elle kills an undead. All of them find cables. John asks them to gather petrol from vehicles while he'll take care of cables. Victor says to Elle, what's the use of records when no one will see them? He asks her, why, Elle? She says, because truth is necessary, either heard loud or just once. Tell me your story and know about the flag in return. Alicia says, don't know how she's alive? Lucy says, I know. She knows everything except this thing of truth. Nick runs far away where he finds blue floras. Madison and Nick leave the stadium and pass through vultures. Mel tells her, good luck. He gives them a book to give it back to Lucy. Nick says, we couldn't have done anything for Charlie. She just had to go. Nick says, how do you keep your hopes always high? She says, I have a trick. I always look for something good. He holds a flower and an undead approaches. It's 3. They fall over him. Morgan kills them. Nick says thanks. Morgan says, due to the horn sound, undeads are coming towards here. We need to find another place. Morgan tells him that others will find them. They will know what happened. They kill 2 undeads. Nick asks, why did you help me? Morgan says, I don't kill. Madison and Nick reach a place in a truck full of supplies. Mel's brother is taking all the supplies. It's Charlie who has led them here to the supplies. Mel's brother teases Nick with, I don't keep my family hungry like you. He gets to him and leaves a knife scar. They leave. Morgan changes his bandage. Nick tells him, stay away from your karate until you get better. He says, we need to find a car for you. Morgan says, you're still looking for El Camino. Nick says, you'll not understand. He says, I saw your tape. He asks, what did you lose? Morgan says, I'll not tell you about my life, and leaves. As the others get to the truck, John finds signs and tells them that they have gone that way. Elle says, we're not going anywhere. She tells John to go and that she'll take care of the truck. Lucy goes behind John, while others stay to help Elle on the term that she will have to take them to that flag's place in her truck. Alicia proceeds with her weapon and kills undeads, while Elle covers her with a gun. She gets under the truck, ties the cable, gets outside from the other side, and tells them to pull it. They pull it with a service truck, and it's out. As Morgan is going, he confronts Mel's brother. He asks him to go, but Nick is already here. He sees him and teases him. Morgan stops him. Nick says, would you try to stop me in this health? You tried. Morgan lets him go. Nick says, you try to do something good, and something goes wrong. That's why I don't get out of the stadium much. Nick gets inside tanks and attacks him. Morgan is standing outside and then leaves. They both fight, which ends with Mel's brother's horrible death. John checks an undead and says they are nearby. John gives Lucy a toffee. He asks her, did you go because you didn't love him? She replies, I went because I loved him. Elle's truck gets here and takes them. Morgan is back and sees Nick soaked in blood. He tells him, the answer to your questions is, I lost my wife, son, friends, and then I lost myself. I met someone and he helped me to see the importance of life. Nick asks, how? Morgan shows him that same book and says, it's a part of that. Nick reads it. The truck arrives here, and all of them get outside. Lucy goes for Nick. Elle checks her records, which seem all in place. Nick puts the book in his pocket and sits. He's looking at a map. They stop near bluebonnets and walk among them. Nick lies down. As he's looking at them, a bullet hits his chest. It's Charlie. He falls, and she runs. He's bleeding. All of them get to him, but Charlie is gone. He's bleeding heavily. All of them know it. Alicia is crying. His breaths have stopped. They are unable to believe this. So is Morgan, who has tears. Everything has turned rough now, and he's lying here among a field of bluebonnets.